What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be ranking all four Ghostbusters films from worst to best and give my quick little mini reviews on them as I go through this. If you're new to the channel or if you've been watching my videos, haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I'd really appreciate it. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers so we can get this baby monetized and then put out even more content on a more regular basis. I would really appreciate that. We have lots of more content coming up with film, music, and just a whole lot. So please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it a ton. Let's go ahead and get into the ranking, and it starts with the worst. And there ain't no doubt, this was pretty easy. Sorry if this offends you, but the worst film in the Ghostbusters franchise, Ghostbusters 2016. I know this is supposedly fresh. It says down here, Rotten Tomatoes fresh. Yeah, that's not surprising. That's because the mainstream critics are pretty much activists, and there's no way at this time that they were going to give this movie a negative review. But if you actually watch the movie and give it a chance, which I did, I truly believe that I can't talk shit about a movie if I haven't even seen it. So I went to watch it. I checked this thing out. I just watched it again and did a review on it. It is not funny. The humor is just the lowest common denominator of humor you can have. I mean, just disgusting jokes and just constant throughout. All four of the Ghostbusters are the same. They're basically Melissa McCarthy, and they have the same kind of humor. There is no diversity in the personalities of the crew of the four Ghostbusters. This movie has a clear agenda. Every single man in this movie is an absolute moron or asshole. No exception, or complete freak weirdo. That's it. And there's a lot of little signs in the movie that, hey, if you're a man, you suck. And so if you're going to just tell me what a piece of shit I am, why would I even want to watch your movie? Especially when it's not good, it's not entertaining, it's not scary. The horror is completely neutralized by all the ridiculous and not funny humor. It's really bad. They let them just go out and do whatever they want. They said, action, be funny. And then when they went in the editing room, they didn't know how to edit jokes. The jokes would go on and on and on and on and on. There's no punchline. And it's just bad. It was just bad. It's hard to get through. It is really hard to get through. That movie feels like it's 4 hours long. It is just a chore to get through it. It sucks and it's trash. Now, from here on up are movies that I like. So don't think that this next film that I'm going to talk about is anywhere close to Ghostbusters 2016. Ghostbusters 2016 is down here, okay? And the next three are up here. So just want to put that out there. But coming up next is unfortunately going to be the new one, Ghostbusters Afterlife. I said this is a great film. I believe this is, it's borderline good, not great, or great. It's right there. And I decided to put it in the great category just because of how awesome that ending is and how great of a tribute this film is to Egon, and of course Harold Ramis, who played Egon and passed away a few years ago. So I thought that it was just an amazing tribute to him, and I thought that once the Ghostbusters showed up, from there on, this was the most, just 10 out of 10. It couldn't have been much better. Just absolutely awesome. But I did have issues with the movie earlier. Some of those issues were fixed by the third act, not just because the third act was so often awesome, but there was also some explanations why some things were possible earlier. Without getting into spoilers, in case you haven't seen it yet, I'll just say that. But during the actual film up until that third act, I thought the humor was a little over the top. I didn't feel the stakes a lot because, when people are joking and constantly just not scared, why am I going to be scared? If you're not scared, the people on the screen who are in trouble are not scared. Why would I be scared for them? Now, I know the first two Ghostbusters films, I'm not saying the Ghostbusters themselves, always looked completely terrified. But first of all, they're professionals. They are the Ghostbusters. They're the ones that go out there and find ghosts. Meanwhile, the whole New York City is terrified. The whole city of New York is terrified. And there are enough scenes and enough horrific scenes in there without the Ghostbusters to really, show they have some horror elements here instead of just straight comedy. Where in this new movie, I didn't feel a lot of stakes. I didn't feel a lot of horror. It was just everyone on screen was, usually kind of very jokey, and a lot of the jokes didn't land. The humor was hit or miss, and that's another thing about it. But I'm not going to trash the movie too much, because even before the Ghostbusters, even before that last act, there was still a lot to like about this movie. It was still a fun movie, entertaining movie, a few cringe moments, yes. Some fan service I liked, some fan service I thought was cringe, but everyone's going to have a different opinion on that. Overall, hey, I thought it was great. I gave it an 8 out of 10. So I liked it. Which brings us to the second best Ghostbusters film, in my opinion. A lot of people, I think the majority of people are going to have Afterlife right here. But I'm actually going to have Ghostbusters 2. I personally, I guess it's a guilty pleasure for me. It doesn't feel like that. I feel like it's really good. I feel like it's freaking awesome. But most people, I feel like, don't like it. They think it was a big misstep. I don't see that. I don't agree with the fact that they kind of made the Ghostbusters a bunch of castaways and losers to start the movie. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's like, really? I mean, they just saved the whole city of New York. I don't think in 5 years everyone's going to already forget that. But once the movie gets going and they get back together and everything, I thought it was one of the more funnier Ghostbuster movies. I thought the horror was definitely the scariest. Now, I was 9 years old, but there's no way, even today, that I could say that Ghostbusters Afterlife is scarier than Ghostbusters 2, at least in my opinion, unless you just think, maybe you think Vigo is just laughable as a villain. I thought he was absolutely scary. I thought that the whole vibe was scarier, and there are just so many great characters. Some of them are back from the original, and some are new here. So I think that it's just a really entertaining movie. I thought that there was more flaws in it than the original, which is why I have it as the second best, even though I think in some aspects it's more enjoyable. All told, I pretty much have an equally great time with the first or the second, which is awesome. And I know a lot of people, again, don't like this second movie, but for me, it's freaking awesome and I love it. And I'm going to put it as the second best Ghostbusters movie on my ranking. Which brings us to numero uno, which obviously is the original Ghostbusters. That film, of course, is the classic for a reason. What a great script, great story, almost a perfect movie. Not very many flaws at all. I would say the only one I could think of is that the special effects weren't that perfect yet. There was some stop motion stuff that you can kind of tell, but actually, even then, they were careful to just make it brief and quick and not overdo it to the point that you're looking like, this is so fake looking. So even there, they do it pretty well. And considering, again, it's 1984. So when you take that into account, all of a sudden, it's not really a negative, is it? So I would say that this movie, the original Ghostbusters, is amazing. The way that they decided to, again, say, let's cast 4 funny guys, no doubt about it. I mean, these are Saturday Night Live veterans and things like that. But we're not going to just make them all just make jokes like Ghostbusters 2016 did, because that just wouldn't work for the comedy. We're trying to make a serious movie. Yes, it's a comedy, but when I say serious movie, a movie to be taken seriously, a movie that could become a great film, a classic, and it sure did. And that's because you have the straight man in Egon. You have a guy in Ray who's kind of a klutz who makes mistakes and things like that, and he's funny in that way. Then there's Venkman, and that's the guy that makes all the jokes. And then there's the regular guy that we can all relate to in Winston. So you have 4 very different characters, and again, Egon also, not just the straight man, but also the super smart scientist. Now, all of them, other than Winston, have some are scientists and have scientific background, but Egon is the brilliant, the genius who's really coming up with the crazy stuff. And altogether, it's a perfect team. A perfect team. And then you got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the end. That's awesome. So many classic characters in this one, with obviously Slimer. The film is just an all-timer, absolute classic, and it comes in at number 1 on my list, the original Ghostbusters. So there you have it. There's my quick ranking of the Ghostbusters films. Let me know your ranking down below. I think most people, I'm going to guess most people are going to go 2016, then Ghostbusters 2, then Afterlife, and then Ghostbusters the original. That's my guess, but I could be wrong on that. And if there are some people who have Ghostbusters 2 as the worst, but I think this is just my opinion, that most reviewers and critics who said that Ghostbusters 2016 is better than Ghostbusters 2, a lot of them were afraid to be called sexist. Were afraid of the backlash they would get if they talk shit about this movie 2016. And you could just tell, you watch old reviews from 2016, everyone's like on edge. They're careful to really go after this movie. Not everyone, but a lot of them, especially some of the mainstream or bigger YouTube channels. So I don't care. Now it's 5 years later. Maybe it's a little easier to talk crap about it. But even then, I would have been, if I was on YouTube at the time, I would have been very open to say that movie just sucks. It just sucks. It's not funny. It's terrible. But there you have it. I mean, I think it's the worst by a landslide, in my opinion. I really enjoyed Afterlife, but to me, Not quite as good as the other two. In my opinion, the original two are the best, but that's just me. Talk to you guys really soon. Thank you so much for your support. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Really enjoyed talking Ghostbusters and hope to talk about it again someday. We'll see y'all later. Peace.